So let's talk about user experience design, which is known as UX for short, and user interface design, which is known as UI for short. Now, these two words are often interchangeably used and is often confused as the same thing, but short answer, it's not. So, we'll be talking about what these two terms actually mean, what these two people in these professions actually do, how you can be a UX or UI designer, and what the process is generally like. All right, so user experience design generally deals with the idea of creating experiences or designing systems for or designing solutions as systems. And the user interface design deals with the designing of interfaces. Now these are not textbook definitions, but these are the definitions. This is what I how I could precisely or as accurately as I could define it. Now, what user experience design does is what you do in user experience design is you research the problem that the problem that the user is facing, and you first identify what who you want to solve the people's problem, which problem you want to solve, and then to identify the different pain points of users, you define what the problem is, and then you research different solutions that are possible, and then you propose a solution and iterate the solution with time, and make a perfect solution for the user so you can solve people's problems. That's what user experience design is. Now, although user experience design in general is used in the context of designing digital products, it doesn't necessarily mean designing solutions to fit into an app or website. The more often than not, the solutions will not be an app, or it may not be an app or a website too. Sometimes the solution to the problems that you're facing could be just a piece of paper, or a form that you can, or a slip of paper that you can just circulate amongst people. Now, before we proceed to UI design, which is often understood as the design of aesthetics part of the application, what is the difference between design and art in general? Design is about communicating your solution effectively so people can make sense out of it and people can use it. But art is the idea of raising questions in the society. Now, in art in general, the idea of the the idea of raising awareness, what it kind of means is that, let's say in world wars, a lot of artists came across. Now, when I say art, I don't necessarily mean just paintings. I also mean movies and all that. You have a lot of movies about World War II and the Holocaust and all that. So what's the purpose of all these art? The purpose of art is to either raise awareness, or to raise questions on some things, or to make people think in a certain way, or to at least put out your way of thinking. So basically, art raises questions and problems, and basically it's an abstraction of all the events that are happening in this world. But design is about solving those problems that people have. Now, what kind of problems? Not maybe some problems are small, and some problems are some things that you can solve, and some problems are not solvable by you. Now, so let me give you an example of what user experience design is. So, a user experience is not omitting the aesthetics part. Your user interface actually is a part of user experience. But the way you make sense out of this is, okay, let's take the example of IKEA. Okay, IKEA, the furniture store, or the home appliance store. Now, if you walk into the actual IKEA store, which we'll also talk about the digital store in a minute, but there's not much to be told about that. So let's talk about the actual IKEA store and IKEA experience. As soon as you walk in, uh, it's not immediately visible, but you can also see the checkout counter At least I'm talking about the Swedish IKEA store experience, because I am right now in Sweden. So this can be different in your country, but I think generally IKEA should at least should be about the same. Okay, so you can see the checkout counter in at some distance, but it should obviously not be this should not be again in the same place. But as soon as you enter, the first thing you would see is you'll be able to see the entry section. So as soon as you enter, you'll find the children's play area. So why would you come to IKEA? You would come to IKEA because you were probably moving to you probably moved into a new place. You need a new furniture, and you came with your kids, and you wanted to buy something, or you wanted to travel somewhere, so you want to take in some stuff, and you want to go, or some people are coming in, so you want to take some stuff from IKEA. Or these are the most common reasons why people come to IKEA. Obviously, you can come to IKEA just for the ice cream, but whatever it is, now generally people come to IKEA, and the children of most ages, the kids of most ages, they generally don't like the experience of furniture shopping, right? It's the most boring thing. So what they did is as soon as you enter, you have the kids play area, so they can drop off their kids. It's only kids, and they have somebody to supervise, so the parents can just walk into the store peacefully without worrying about their kids and nagging them all the time while they're shopping. So they're just playing in that space, right? That space is beautifully decorated. It has all the things to keep them busy while you're doing the shopping. And then when you walk into the shop, if you walk into the store, you one of the things that IKEA is famous for other reasons like supply chain thing. One of the things that IKEA did in order to reduce the, let's say, the operational cost, is what they did is they put the okay. So IKEA is known for this modular product approach, which is that when you buy a product from IKEA, you need to assemble this when you get to home. When you want to use that product, you assemble the furniture using the steps or the process sheet that comes with the package that you bought. But how will the user or the customers actually see the product if everything is just broken down into pieces? Nobody's interested in seeing the broken pieces. So they want to see what the actual thing is like. So what they've done is they divided the every product into two sections. On the top you can see the preview, and on the bottom you can see the actual package that you can simply take and put it into your cart, and you can purchase it. So that makes the so people like the store owners or the store managers or the storekeepers don't have to keep monitoring. Okay, hey customer, are you looking to buy this? How are you going to transport this? How are you going to just take the whole chair and put this on the cart and go? No, that's going to be crazy. So they made the whole experience of buying furniture so easy and so simple by putting that up and making this modular approach. So this applies to anything and everything, from curtains to electronics to furnitures to plants to anything except food, of course. So all these things. So when you do the shopping, when you come towards the end, you can almost get to the entry pretty easily because they're on the same line. So on the same horizontal line. So once you finish paying for the thing, you take your kids, give them a cheap ice cream. Now it's not cheap ice cream, just the word cheap, but I would say it tastes pretty good, and it cost about 5 Swedish crowns. Now 5 Swedish kroners is, I guess, approximately like 5 cents or 50 cents in US dollars, if I'm correct. I think it's something like that. All right, I think it's 50 cents. So it's a cheap ice cream, but it tastes really good. And when you leave IKEA, you feel like, okay, IKEA is it's more than just a furniture store. People always feel like coming back to you, and it is designed more than that. Now, why do you need to design experiences? Why can't you just put things like a grocery store? It's not that grocery stores don't have experience, but they have. But why don't they just keep, as soon as they enter, why do they have to think about creating a ice cream parlor in the end of the IKEA just before you exit? Why did they have to design the kids play area because the thing is, all of these affect the customer experience. This affects the money that you can probably make. And regarding the experience aspect, I would suggest you to watch this talk by Jonathan Haidt, and it's about I don't remember the title exactly, but it goes something like the experience of the transcendent. Now, what he talks about in that video, if I can summarize, is that he talks about how religious people, when they are in the state of prayer, they feel elevated, or they feel elevated from their profane state. Like, you feel more than who you are as an individual. Even in the case of protest against some authoritarian figure, or against anything, people come together against some force, and they feel, elevated, because when you are with somebody, that the experience that you have is simply undescribable, or something you cannot put words to. So so creating experiences allow people to remember them, and to sort of it's not like, so when you say a good design, now user interface design is the aspect of designing interfaces. So an example would be, okay, you want to watch a video on YouTube, the idea comes into your head, and when you want to watch that video, you tap the video on your phone on the YouTube app, and then the video starts playing. And the way that happened is by tapping. So the touch screen was the actual interface between your head and your system. The system, or the computer, or your mobile phone, the actual code or the computer program is not something that users can interact with. It's just so gibberish. I mean, not gibberish, but the code is not something that people can interact with. Also, the Instagram like feature. If you were to directly access the Instagram servers, and if you want to like the like photos in the actual way, that computers understand, it's going to take forever, and that experience is just so boring. So that's why user interface and user experience always should go hand in hand, because the experience is okay. There's a saying by some person, I don't remember exactly. I read this on, I guess, on Pinterest as well. There is a saying that a good strategy can never cover a bad design, and a pretty design can never cover a bad strategy. I'm not sure who said this, but this is a pretty good saying, and it kind of proves the point. So the idea of creating pretty interfaces is not that, okay, you make something pretty, and underneath the pretty design is a horrible system that doesn't solve anybody's problem. Both these extremes and radicals are not good. So that's why, okay, so what exactly is required of a user experience design? Now, I did my I got started in the informal process by learning design tools such as Figma and Sketch. Now, this is how you learn user interface design. Now, this is how I learned. Is I started by learning the tools and the basics of the tools. I started using Sketch. Now, there are tools like Adobe XD, Figma, and Sketch, and Photoshop. These are the four most popular. Also, InVision Studio. Now, these are five most popular tools in the market. Although there are so many other tools as well. There's also a tool called Framer, which also you could use, and that's also a pretty cool application that you can use. So, first learn the basics of these user interface design tools. Whichever one you're comfortable with, you can use them. There's a huge community behind each of these tools, so don't worry. Regardless of which tool you take. I use Figma myself personally a lot, because it allows me to. Because today I work with a team, and it's easy for me to communicate my designs with my developers. So yeah. So first what I did is I learned the basics of the design tools. Then I started designing. I started just copying stuff from the things I got inspired from. So there are websites to take inspiration from for really good design. So there's a website called Dribbble. So Dribbble. So it's three B's. At dribbble.com. You can also go check out Behance, BEHANCE dot. I think it's .net or .com. Just Google search for Behance and you'll get it. Um, there are so many websites today to look for inspiration, but these are some places to. These are some two popular places where the designers go to look for inspiration. And what you can do is you can start looking at how people. You can look for inspiration how people take applications, even simple applications like instant messenger, and they spin the application around to make it look and feel or to solve their own problems. Or if you feel like if you use, let's say, a payment application, that you use an application every single day and you pay your customers or whoever that is, and then you find some problem and you want to redesign that application. First design First learn how to design stuff. Now the way you can do that is you can just copy exact designs, or what you can do, what's better is you go through, if you're designing for, let's say, iOS, you have a really good design guidelines. If you go to developer.apple.com, go to this place and you will find a place called resources. You can get a free account as well. So when you get a free account, you can watch all the videos on design, and also you can check out the guidelines that Apple has decided has made. You can use their assets, and you can just simply assemble things like Legos and start designing things. When you start designing things, simple things like to-do list or whatever, there are so many UI kits and all that stuff. So start assembling things first, so you know how different things go together. So what things are used for, and you start getting people's feedback and stuff. So in the beginning, obviously, your things are not gonna look complete. It's gonna sometimes look pretty, but they're not gonna solve any problems. But that's okay. Your first goal is not to solve actual problems. The first goal should be to learn how to get used to the process of designing. So learn that first, and then what you need to do is, okay, now I know how to design stuff, so now I'm going to design something meaningful. So meaningful could be something to yourself or to the people you care about. So let's say you find let's say you use, your family uses WhatsApp or whatever, and you found a problem and you feel that maybe this feature could be nice. Start putting that out onto your designs, and start creating designs and sharing them out on Behance, and even Instagram or Twitter or whatever you want. Share them out with the community and let people notice you on LinkedIn or whatever that is. And if you can get a job on, if you can get a freelancer job, and you can learn not just the interface design but the business of design, because when you go into the actual design process, until now you were only designing for yourself, but then now you're going to design for actual clients, and you'll understand the messiness process of design, because design is almost never complete. It's not like, oh yeah, I design now this design is going to stay for the next 2 years. No, it's going to keep changing. It's going to keep changing with how people are going to use. So you're going to keep observing how people are going to use, and then you're going to keep making changes. So you're always going to stick to the process. You're going to iterate until you find that it solves people's problems. So that's how you sort of get into the UI design process. Now, for UX in general, I would say that UX does not, although I took a formal education, the reason why I say that UX can never be learned online is because you can never go through a couple of lectures and do it and become a UX designer. It's the same for UI design, that you cannot simply go through a bunch of video lectures and become a UI designer. But the difference in UX design is that you actually need to walk out and look out for actual problems, and you need to identify because the actual problems in the world are really, really complicated and complex. Sometimes they don't have relationships, they're wicked, they're messy. So okay, I want to talk about something called double diamond design methodology, and it's a very popular design method, or a design theory, or whatever you want to, a design concept that is talked about in the UX world. So double diamond design methodology is how you solve a problem, or propose a solution to a problem. So there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are about 5 main processes, or 5 main points in the process, but in general this is so it goes like this. There are like convergent phase and the divergent phases. So let me sort of describe what I mean. So you start by a you start by looking for all the problems in your society or in your community or whatever is that you want to solve. So not just society and community, but whatever you want to try to solve. So you go ahead and look for problems. All right. So that is a very open-ended process. So you go ahead and look for problems in let's say if you're geeky about video games, then you probably want to look out for problems in your video game community and stuff like that. And then the next problem, and then the next step, that closes the first diamond, is you come up with a problem statement. That is, you filter out all the problems that are probably not as important, in something that people, based on your research, you find out through surveys, through interviews, that okay, well, maybe what people are saying is that this problem is really important to them, and maybe sometimes the problem that is very important may not be profitable for you, so it cannot be solvable as a business enterprise. So you need to identify the sweet spot of the balance between all these things. So the next step is you identify and you define what your problem is, and then the next step after that is you look for different solutions. So basically you do wireframing and all that. So you look for different possible solutions, and then what you do is the closing of the second diamond is when you create the ultimate solution that solves people's problems. So when you open the second diamond, you actually look for, okay, which solution is solving the actual problem, which things people are understanding. Maybe mobile app is not the thing to go for, although based on our research, we thought a mobile app would work. Okay, maybe we have to change to a desktop app because this is where people are using most of the time. So maybe you have to pivot, or whatever you want to do with to pivot and keep making your changes, and then by the end of the second diamond, you're able to come up with the concrete solutions that you're able to call this a product. Now that is a very, very popular design methodology, if I could say, the double diamond design methodology. Um, Now there are so many other sort of methodologies or concepts as well, but this is a very useful, let's say, a very useful frame of reference if you want to understand how sort of UX process is. Okay, so usually it goes from research, and then we look for problems, identify a problem that you want to solve, and then you look for different solutions, identify which solution works, and then you define your solution. So first step is you identify a problem, and then the last step is to identify a solution. You build a solution and you ship a solution. So I hope this sort of is clear, but you can read more about this in detail in the web page. Basically, if you search for double diamond design methodology on Google, I think it's the first result. It's from Design Council UK. So there's a detailed guide on this, and so you can go read them in detail if you're interested. But there are definitely videos on YouTube and even courses on wherever you're watching this, on Skillshare on YouTube, to learn about double diamond design. It's a pretty interesting idea. I think my approach was first learn UI design and then learn UX design, but it could be the other way around. Now UX design is also a very useful skill if you want to be a CEO. I mean, if you want to be an owner of a company, or if you want to be a product manager. Now, there will be a separate video on product manager. So, briefly touching upon why user experience is a requirement for product manager is because the understanding of what your users want and how to channel a particular direction, or how to create a vision for a product, is actually discussed in user experience. So what exactly is user experience? You're trying to solve people's problems, and that understanding of user and the system that's exactly what user experience is. So user experience is a very, very important step or a very important skill of a product manager. Now, couple that along with your interest or your passion for management or for working with your team and stuff. So that those are essentially some skills that you need to have as product manager. Now, product manager or the job of a product manager is usually very difficult to describe in concrete terms, but essentially, product managers are really good UX designers. All right, so um, I think for now that's it. If there's anything more, I'll make another video on a similar topic. But if you like this video, please be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video because YouTube algorithm likes it. And until then, guys, I shall see you guys in another video very soon. Thank you guys for watching.